Welcome to lesson 2. You want to complete the Bellwork on page 5 of your packet. Please pause the video and come back when it's completed. Welcome back. Hopefully you've completed the Bellwork. Let's kind of go over the answers right quick. F of -2. So we go to x is -2. Remember, we have the two choices. We always choose the closed circle, so that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Did I count that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. So f of -2 is 4. F of 2, 1, 2 is an open circle. And so actually would say that does not exist. Or you could also call it undefined. I'll accept either answer. F of 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We go down, it looks like it's 1. F of 0 would be here, which would also be 4. Then they want us to find the places where f of x is -3. So I'm looking when my y value is -3. So that's going to be at 1, 2, 3. So we see that happens at two places. It happens here and it happens here. So what are those two values? -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So -5, comma, and then it also happens at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So -5 and 5. And remember, because it doesn't happen at all the values between -5 and 5, we can't write it in interval notation. So we can either write it that way, or we could say x is equal to -5, and when x is equal to +5. We could write it that way as well. Okay, so that is it for Bellwork. Welcome to lesson 2. Again, follow along on pages 5 through 11 in your note packet. We have two objectives today. We're going to start with the first one. The first objective is to find the slope algebraically and graphically. So you may recall from Math 1 that the slope is the change in the range, the change in the y value over the change in the domain, the x value. Also recall from Math 1 that the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That is the formula for slope, and you need to know that formula. Also, remember, if it is increasing from left to right, it has a positive slope. If it's decreasing from left to right, it has a negative slope. A horizontal line has a slope of 0, and a vertical line we can either say it has no slope or its slope is undefined. So let's practice finding the slope graphically. So to find the slope graphically, remember, slope is the change in y over the change in x. So sometimes they're nice enough to give us two little dots there that we can use. So they gave us those little dots. So we need to figure out how far did we rise and how far did we run. So I'm just going to kind of draw a little triangle here to help me out with my counting. So how far did I rise? So I rose 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I rose 7. How much did I run? So that's my change in y, my change in height. How much did I run? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I ran 9. And I write that as a fraction. It can't be simplified. I also want to notice that it's negative because it's decreasing from left to right. So it's -7/9. Okay? Now, if we can simplify that as a fraction, I prefer that you never write it as a decimal. Okay? All right, this one didn't give us any dots, any pretty little dots. So we have to I like to find where it crosses the hash mark. So I'm going to come here and here. That to me seems like, oh, no, because it didn't really cross at 0. It looked like it was going to, but I don't think it did. If I choose too big, it's okay because it will simplify. So now I'm going to draw my little line. I went up, I went over. How much did I rise? 1, 2, 3. How much did I run? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I ran 8, and this slope is positive, so we're good. Now, we've already talked about that this has a slope of 0. And let me use some notation with that. We want to say m is equal to, m is equal to, m is equal to 0. And if you can't see, if you don't believe me, let's take 2 points. How much did I rise from this point to this point? I rose 0, and I ran 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But anything over 0 divided by any number is still 0. So that's why we have a slope of 0. But you didn't have to do that. You could have just told it was 0 because it's a horizontal line. Now I want you to pause the video, and I want you to come back and do the next 3 problems. I want you to pause the video, do the next 3 problems, and then come back. Okay, welcome back. So this first one, recall that if you have a vertical line, the slope is undefined. Or you can say no slope. I'll accept either one. For this one, they gave us some dashes. So how much did we run? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, we rose 5 and we ran 1. It's negative, so we would say that it is negative 5. For this one, we rose 1, 2, 3, 4. We ran 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's our slope. Now you can use your calculator. You can put 4, 6 math fraction in your calculator, and it'll simplify it for you. And we see that this simplifies to 2/3. I do prefer that it's simplified, but I don't want you to write it as a decimal. Okay, so in the last slide, we looked at finding the slope graphically. Now we're going to look at finding the slope algebraically. And to find the slope algebraically, we have to remember the beautiful formula that I gave you earlier, which is m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so remember, when we're looking at the ordered pairs, it doesn't matter which one we call them, but generally the first one we say is x1, y1, x2, y2, although it doesn't matter as long as we're consistent. So then this would be 6 minus 4, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, 2 minus negative 3. If you are still struggling with adding and subtracting integers, no big deal, just use your calculator. So in your calculator, do 6 minus 4, which is 2. 2 minus negative 3 is 5. So your answer is 2/5. Okay, let's do the next one. This is y2, y1. So this is negative 5 minus negative 5, 8 minus 2. Negative 5 minus negative 5 is 0 over 6. Again, if you need to use your calculator, that's fine. 0 divided by any number is simply 0. So that is 0. And then we have 4, which is y2, minus y1, which is negative 7, over negative 12 minus 4. So that is 11 over negative 8. Is my math right there? 11, 12, no, negative 16. Sorry, negative 16, sorry. And I know the negative is in the bottom, but that makes the entire thing negative, so we just say negative 11 over 16. Okay, so what I'd like for you to do is to pause the video. You do the last 3, and then come back and I'll give you the answers. All right, welcome back, boys and girls. So as we do this, we see that this is going to be 8 minus negative 6 over 3. Hopefully that's a comma on your sheet. 3 minus 3, which is 14 over 0. Now this is different. 0 over 6 is 0, but 14 over 0 is undefined because we can't divide by 0 until we get to calculus. And then we don't divide by 0, but you know, we do weird things in calculus. So 10 minus 6 is 3 minus negative 1, which is going to be 4 over 4, which is simply will simplify to 1. We always simplify if it simplifies to a whole number, or if the fraction can be reduced. We never make it a decimal. We hardly ever write in this case, a slope as a decimal. We always want to write it as a fraction. So this would be 8 minus -1, 9 minus 5. That's going to be 9/4, and that's our answer. Okay, so that is it for this video. Come back and watch video part 2 of lesson 2, sorry, part 2, lesson 2. Come back and watch that. And we're going to do applications of slope.